Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Here with me today is a very special guest. Probably you have seen our documentary on him. His name is Salem King. So Salem, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm honored.
And in case you haven't seen our documentary on him yet, the link to the video will be in the description below. We had a very extensive time with him. He's a content creator based in Abuja, Nigeria, and he's ready to travel to give it the best in any part of the world.
Yeah, in any part of the world where COVID is not.
Of course, like post-COVID, of course, post-COVID. So today, Salem, we have just one question for you, right? We have gone through a lot of your work, and we see that you are a guru at content creation. Like,
I'm honored.
after you is still you.
Wow.
So, can you give us some tips on content creation?
Well, I would just say everyone who is trying to create content has to recognize that whatever it is they are creating or putting out there is not for them. It's for someone else, right? So we need to think and say, how do I present this to people in a way that they want to listen to? Well, the first question most people ask is, what do I want to talk about? But a lot of times that's the wrong question. You always have something to talk about. If you have experiences, if you have a background, if you have any kind of education or exposure, you definitely have something to talk about. The question you need to be asking is, who am I talking to? Who do I want to attract? What do they want to hear? Right? So value ultimately is about giving people what they want or need. So if there's somebody that needs something and you have that to offer, that's value, regardless of what it is. So if there's somebody that wants to laugh and you're giving them something to make them laugh and they can come on your page and just spend minutes or hours of their time laughing, that's value. If you're teaching people how to build their businesses, that's also value. So we just ultimately think about the fact that although this is my story I want to tell, I am not the end consumer of this story. So who do I want to reach? So that's one. Understand that the story is not about you. You're not the hero of the story. Your customer is, your audience is. Another thing I think everyone should take into account and continue to remember is to niche down as much as possible, right? So when you're deciding who your target audience is, make sure you're as specific as possible. Now, when I do this exercise with new creators or when I consult with businesses, sometimes they say, oh, we don't really want to have a target audience. We want everybody. We don't want to limit ourselves, that kind of thing. And I have to go through this process of explaining to them that you're not limiting yourself. Seth Godin says, if you have to water down your story to appeal to everyone, you appeal to no one. So it's important for you to try to appeal to a very small audience and serve them wholeheartedly, generously, creatively, solve their problems. They will not be able to shut up about it, and invariably you'll be able to attract even other people who are not part of that target audience. So determining your target audience is not limiting, it is defining, right? It helps you know that this is the group of people I want to serve. Also, your messaging will be cohesive. It will not be all over the place, because if you're all over the place, you're talking to everybody, which means you're talking to no one precisely. But when you're talking to a specific group of people, check every book that has become a bestseller or every movie that has gone, it was created for a certain niche, right? And because those people loved it so much. For example, there's this book, The Alchemist.
Yeah.
That book did not go international for the first, I think, 10 years that it was released, until someone traveled and then translated it into English, and then it became a worldwide hit. For the first couple of years after Paulo Coelho put out that book, it was just not there, but it was serving a certain group of people. Do you understand? The book was good before it became an international hit. It didn't become good after it became an international hit, but he knew who it was he was talking to. So sometimes at the initial stage it may look like, who am I talking to? Or, no, but there's not so many people listening, I'm not getting a lot of traction. But just continue, just niche down as much as possible. Define, these are the people I want to reach, these are the problems I want to solve for them, and just double down on that.
Thank you very much. Now, starting from your second point, you talked about niching down. What about people that think, I have so much talent, I have so much creativity, I want to talk about, I want to be a traveler, I want to be a content creator, I want to be a musician, I want to be everything in the world, and I feel I can, offer value in all these areas. what do you think is the best way to go about that?
So there's more than one side to it, right? First of all, it's impossible to push so many things at the same amount of intensity at the same time. Right? So people are definitely multi-potentialites. That's standard, right? And there's nothing wrong with being that way. But you cannot push multiple things at the same amount of intensity. There's only one you have only one brain, you have only one heart, right? If you do that, you may not succeed at either one, right? So you need to be able to segment and say, which of these things do I want? Which of these things makes me the most money? Which of this one can I do maybe 4 times a month, right? And which other one can I only afford to do once a month? Or this one, I like doing this, but I can only do it for a certain kind of client, so I'll reserve it for when I find that kind of client. I don't think I can do it every day. So you need to take your time and segment. Now I said there were two sides to it. Another side to it is, keep in mind that human beings, we make sense of life and everything by putting them in categories. So a lot of times when people come across your account or whatever it is you do and they cannot put you in a category, we don't like the things that are hard to define, right? So it's really important for you to make a name for yourself as one thing. Do not be worried. One thing we worry about is, I don't want people to know me as just a designer. I am more than a designer. I am more than that. I'm also a photographer. I'm also a musician. I want people to know me as all that I am. But it might serve you better to just focus on that designer thing and putting out that area of yourself. A lot of times when you're very good at one thing, people generally believe that you're good at whatever it is, whatever else you decide to do. So in your early stages, it might really serve you to outwardly at least specialize. Behind the scenes, keep doing everything you do. Do you understand? If you have a music career, invest in it, get better. If you whatever you like to do, continue to invest in it, because it now shapes your perspective as a designer. So you're a more wholesome designer, you're a more diverse designer. Even though you're specialized, you are diverse. And in your approach to design, people can see that there are so many things that come into play. Do you understand? In your approach to design. So those are my thoughts on people who have multi-potentials. Yeah.
Okay, then another question is, I see a lot of people that are like, they're waiting for the perfect time or the perfect condition. Like, I've spoken to some people and they're like, I actually want to vlog. I want to make videos in my house, but my house is not comfortable. I don't have enough space, or I don't have a very expensive camera, or I don't have a microphone, or something is just not working out for them at the moment. Like, what do you have to say concerning that?
So I have a dozen examples of people who gave excuses like this, and one day camera fell on their laps and they still didn't do anything. Right? They said, oh, it's because I don't have an iPhone, and they get an iPhone and they still don't do anything. Ultimately, it's what you have matters. Do you understand? The video I make on an iPhone will not be the same as a video I make on a DSLR, of course.
So note that he makes his videos on iPhones.
Yeah,
and he has 25,000 followers.
Yes. So though it may not be the same thing, for the level I am, sometimes what I have is enough. So you need to be honest with yourself and say, what I have is enough for the level that I am at. And I also encourage creators to say, if I don't have, is there a friend of mine that has? Is there someone that has that I can exchange value with? Right? Is there something I have that I can give to somebody that has what I need and they can give me and I offer that to them? Can I buy them coffee? Is there, there's always a way. But when in your mind you already limited yourself and said, it's because I don't have this and that's why I can't do this. I think every creator needs to think, I want to do this. Decide that it can be done and begin to find a way. When you go out and you've decided that it can be done, in a lot of ways, Paulo Coelho says, when you want something, the universe will conspire to make it happen for you. So it happens. A lot of times when you decide that it can be done and you start asking people, I tell you, your influence, I need this. Do you know anybody that has it? Like, I don't know, but I'm going to ask someone else. And you ask someone else. And just like that, I ask 5 people, I ask 7, 10 people. They're asking other people for me. Before I have a camera I can borrow for 1 hour at least, don't I? Right? Go on YouTube, you learn how to use a camera and all of that. So we really do not have any excuse. Sometimes we don't have access to the things we need, but there's someone we know that has access to it. So try that.
Okay. Now, one final question is about inspiration.
Yeah.
Like, do you think what do you think is best way to go about inspiration? Do you think, there's this idea about reading books? Like by default, a lot of people will be like, read books, right? Or this. And what if you're somebody who is not into reading books, for example, or you feel somebody who is self-motivated or self-inspired? Like,
Yeah.
what is your take on that, especially when it comes to being a creative?
So you may not be into reading books, but you have to be into personal development. And personal development is not limited to books, right? There are online courses, there's a lot of content on YouTube, there are audiobooks, there are podcasts, right? You need to be very invested in educating yourself. And by education, I don't mean just school. I mean, if you need to travel, conversations, all of that. So as much as you may not be a book person, you have to be an education person, because how are you going to feed your mind? When your brain needs to make connections, what is it going to use to make those connections? When you need to connect dots, what is your brain going to connect? Right? You need to feed your brain. You need to give your brain food, something to run on. Right? So it doesn't necessarily have to be books. I understand. I can relate deeply to people who say they're not really book people, and a lot of it comes from also our conditioning. I remember when we were growing up, they said readers are leaders. That thing, that quote used to make me really mad when I was younger, because I didn't like to read. It used to make me really mad, because I'm like, it's not fair. Like, what did I do wrong? Because I don't like to read, I'm destined to be led for the rest of my life. Do you understand? So yeah, that was really annoying for me. But over time, I realized, okay, whoever came up with that quote probably had good intentions, but I think we needed a little more context to see that people who are leaders because they have fed their minds. Right? And that's what reading does for you. But luckily for us, reading is not the only way to feed your mind. So everybody needs to be invested in self-development. Everybody needs to be invested in personal development. Before we had this session, you didn't send me a list of questions per se that you were going to ask. We're just having a conversation, and I'm saying this all from my experience, my investment in my own self over time, right? So when we're going to have this interview, I'm not scared that, oh my gosh, Akin's going to ask me something I might not have an answer to. Like, if you ask me something I don't have an answer to, I'll say I don't know, and I'll go research, right? Because I am committed to developing myself. So that's what it should be. Books or podcasts, whatever it is, just develop yourself somehow.
So it's not just books. Like, just make sure that as a creative, you just continue developing yourself.
The world is moving really fast. If you're not developing yourself, compared to everybody else, you're moving backwards.
That's true.
Maybe you're not moving backwards. Maybe you're stagnant. But compared to everybody else,
everybody's moving
you're
forward.
Definitely moving backwards. So you need to constantly be developing yourself.
Okay. As a creative, do you have any outlet where you help others to develop themselves?
Yes, we started the Booster Academy early this year, and what we're doing, I think we talked about that in the documentary.
Just in case people are watching this and you're listening to the documentary.
Yeah, so we're helping creators tell their stories better by teaching personal branding, content strategy, and communication for social media. We're also helping creators find healthy community, because we find that that's something that's really important. The thing I said earlier about, sometimes when you don't have something, but there's someone else that has access to what you don't have. So we're helping creators find healthy communities that they can grow in, as much as possible. And between January and now, we've had about over 600 creators go through the Booster Academy, and we're going on this year. It's been amazing.
So where can we sign up for that?
At the Booster Academy on Instagram, or on my. If you need any information about the Booster Academy, it's on my page too.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Any final thoughts?
Well, final thoughts. Start with what you have. Start with who you are. A number of creators don't feel like they are interesting enough. They don't feel like their lives are eventful enough to go into creation. But the truth is, you don't realize how interesting your life is until you dig into the reality of the person that you are. You have a certain combination of, your education, your exposure, your interest, your expertise, your experiences. All of those things combined make you who you are. Those things shape your perspective of the world that nobody else has, right? So hone in on that. Start with who you are. Start with what you have and what you have access to. And always remember the importance of everybody else, the importance of community. Hold that close, and nothing can stop you.
Thank you very much for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
It's a privilege to have you. What are your social media handles?
At Salem Kinging. Search at Salem Kinging anywhere. Yeah.
Everywhere. All right. Till we come your way next time. Thank you so much for watching.
Thank you for having me. Boom, boom, boom.
Let's go. Freestyle. Drop some bars for us, like rap or something.
Chocolate, bars, prison, bars, drinks, bars. I am a star. We are stars. Oh my god, this is a really dead bars.
Alright, so final thoughts.
Who is that?
This is Salem Influence featuring the Black Writer.